We're moving on. And when I say we're moving on, we're jumping right over a vital, incredibly vital time with the first Bank of the United States and it going away, and the second Bank of the United States, and Andrew Jackson. Remember, we're talking about a presidential campaign. There was one issue. Will there be a bank? Will we continue to have the private bank, second Bank of the United States? The whole presidential campaign was about that when Andrew Jackson was reelected. And he said, no, we're going to put that bank out of business. And we went through it. But we get to the Civil War. And after that period, when we have a fairly, I don't want to say, chaotic, fairly chaotic banking and money system in this country, a kind of a mix and a match of some public and some private activities. We get to the Civil War. And at that time, remember, because we had no public money, there was no public money being created, Lincoln got to the point where he couldn't deal with paying the soldiers. Did not have the money. Well, let's see, we rely on the banks to create the money. We don't have the money, we got to go to the banks and borrow the money so that we're going to be able to pay the soldiers. And so he had to turn to foreign bankers, as did the Confederacy. The Confederacy did exactly the same thing. They went to the foreign bankers. So it was France is here, and Spain is here, and England is here, and the key to it, by the way, if you read the monetary history, none of those countries would lend money to either side unless that side agreed that should they be the victors, they would pay the debts of the other side. Why? Because the same banks were lending money to both sides. That's why. And they wanted to get the money paid no matter who they lent it to. And that's the kind of system that we were. They said 36% will give you what you want. Lincoln was very troubled. And along came E.G. Spaulding, one of the people I'm dedicating this talk to tonight. Congressman from Buffalo, New York. And he said, wait a minute, I've got a better idea. He was a banker himself, a banker, a businessman, a lawyer, a leader in the community, a congressman. Remember, a congressman we're talking about. Why should we go to Wall Street, State Street, or Chestnut Street, or any street begging for money? Their money is not as secure as government money. I am unwilling that this government be left in the hands of any class of men, bankers or money lenders, however respectable and patriotic. The government is stronger than any of them. They issue only promises to pay, meaning debts, okay? And to me, we're thankful to him for that. And during that period of time, Lincoln said, I have two great enemies, the Southern Army in front of me and the financial institutions to my rear. And of the two, the one to my rear is my greatest foe. Now, to be historically accurate, at the time that Mr. Spaulding and other Congress people came out with the idea of legal tender, passing a legal tender statute, actually Lincoln was not in favor of it. Lincoln, said, well, we should really make sure that we exhaust all the other options before we get into doing anything about something as radical as a legal tender statute where we would actually create our own money. But he saw how it worked. They passed it, and he signed it, and we started issuing the currency, and he saw how it worked, and then he was at this conclusion. And again, another great statesman, great president, a guy who Mr. Obama says he admires a great deal. So Mr. Obama, listen up. The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credit needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of consumers. Mr. Obama, listen up. Money will cease to be master and become the servant of humanity. Democracy will rise superior to the money power. Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest Americans, in my opinion. He saw that we had a solution available to us and said, let's do this. This is what needs to be done. Mr. Obama, that's not the plan of Geithner. That's not the plan of Summers. That's not the plan of Rubin. That's not the plan of any of those guys, okay? This is Lincoln's plan, your hero, your fellow Illinoisan. Well, actually, Lincoln was really from Kentucky, wasn't he, now that I think about it? Yeah, he was born in Kentucky, but he was, of course, elected from Illinois. So what's next? So we got greenbacks. Greenbacks. The country's own currency. The sovereign United States of American people government currency. We had it. It came into being. United States notes issued in every denomination that was needed in order to carry on commerce. It was government issue. At that time we actually had to, we didn't have computers, you actually had to make a bill and pass it around. United States notes. They were not borrowed, there was no debt created, there was no increase in the national debt. $450 million in notes was eventually authorized, and that's over a period of years, okay? And that's exactly the amount that was issued. It was issued debt-free. Nobody ever paid a nickel of interest on that $450 million. And if any of you have the calculator that does compounding interest, figure that out. Because we've sent a lot of kids to college, and we've done a lot of great things with the money that we didn't spend on interest on greenbacks, okay? Legal tender. Traded at par for over 100 years, and quite frankly, I don't know that it doesn't trade at par today. So there is the currency that we had. Again, I'm going to go back. We started out as a country with debt-free money. We had the revolution to maintain our right to have debt-free money. We fought the Civil War, not for the right to have debt-free money, but debt-free money was what enabled the outcome. And for many years afterwards, those greenbacks circulated and became the money of the country.